Season, I'm not sure how many, but it is the new season. Season 5, Kyle, our key grip over there sitting in the corner. Kyle Charter's waiting for segment 2 of Gold and Black Live. Special guest needs no introduction. I don't know. Do you like being known as the Dean of Big Ten Athletic Directors? Is that an age thing?
It's really is not a big deal for me either way.
He is the Dean of Big Ten Athletic Directors, Morgan Burke, and Stacy Clarity joins us as well, and we'll be talking in segment 1 about a lot of things, and a lot to do with football and tomorrow's game, Purdue, Western Michigan at noon. Probably is about as big a game in terms of much of anticipation for a college football game, just because of circumstance maybe, but a lot of talk, and it's time to finally have them play.
Well, and I think our motive all since we know we didn't play well last year. I mean, I think sometimes people think we're glossing over it, and believe me, we're our own harshest critics when it comes to winning and losing. That's part of our business, but I think that the dedication the kids put in since last January, and the emergence of certain people, and you saw it in the captains that were announced, it's a new day. And the one good thing about young people, they turn the page quicker than those of us who have a few more years under our belt. And so I'm eager to see how they play. I think I have a sense for the team this year versus last year, but until they line up against somebody in a different jersey, you need to be cautious. And I think when you come off a year like this, both in football and basketball, you better let's stop talking and let's start producing. So my mantra to everybody and the staff is let's under talk and over perform, and that's the mission.
You've been here for a while and experienced a lot of football, start of new seasons. What's your excitement level for the season? Is it different because of what the program is coming off of, or?
Stacy, that's a good question. I thought a little bit about this because I think in 1994 we came off a one-win season, and actually that was all Stott's, I think, junior or senior year, and we bounced back. I think ended up 5-5-1 or something like that. I think when you're in transition, and we are, you're just eager to see. What they can do in practice, but as Coach Painter likes to say, when the popcorn starts popping, do they produce? And that's the hardest thing to simulate. And so I'm eager to see how they respond. They've done everything that they can do in their power to prepare. We're probably as healthy as we've ever been going into a season. Knock on wood.
Whatever this is,
we're probably if you look physically at kids who had to play last year, Jake Rupogel, for example. There's no comparison physically, and that's true of the entire roster. If you go and look at their strength conditioning metrics that Dwayne Carlo puts together, they've really taken a step, which you would expect. It was a young group of kids that were playing last year. We had as many, 8, 9 on each side of the ball who were playing in their first or second year. So, it's a small, it doesn't add up directly into the win-loss column, but the way they performed in the classroom, to me, we said, I'm buying into this guy. And they had the best fall. And this summer, they were above 3.0, which it's never happened since I've been here. So those are all signals that are pointing in the right direction. Now you got to come out, and you can't worry about, what the media thinks, or you just got to play the game that you've trained yourself, and reckless abandon, go for it.
Now that you've taken all our questions and you want to answer, we're done. No.
Seriously.
No, that's okay. All right, how this show works, though, for those of you scoring at home, if you haven't joined us in our 5 years, you can chat us your questions. Allie in the back room will send them to me, and we'll be happy to answer them the best we can. We can also, if you get bored, and you won't get bored during at least the first 2 segments, and probably not the third as well, but we have advertisers too, and obviously we're very proud to have them all back again for another year. XXX, John Basham, we had a good talk about John, one of the great Purdue supporters that will be back to us for a second year, and of course State Farm agent Trent Johnson, who will be on the sidelines tomorrow, and on some sidelines tonight refereeing a high school football game as well, and of course Hilton Garden Inn, and when tomorrow's a big day, State HGI tonight, Christy Kuntz supporting us. So, you look at this team, and you look at what you've obviously been a study. Your job is to really be the ultimate coach of coaches and to help lead and direct them. What do you see in year 2 in terms of how the staff has worked with Darrell Hazel? I mean, and obviously these are guys that had to spend some time to be able to get to know their boss, so to speak.
Right. I don't think there's any doubt. I think, the only change we had was Tabor Johnson.
Right.
We tried to hire him in year one, and he was the interim head coach at Arkansas, and it wasn't the right time for him to move. And he was the defensive backfield coach at Ohio State when Darrell was the receiver coach. So that's really the only change. As it turns out, he and Hudson knew each other, so that helped. They're all professionals. I mean, Darrell, we always talk about Kent State, but he had stops at Pennsylvania, at Rutgers, along the way, among others. Shoup's been at North Carolina, Hudson at Florida State, Tabor was at Arkansas, Sherman at Virginia Tech. They've all been in big-time programs. They're experienced guys. So one of the things they've done, I think they're better synchronized, no doubt about it. No different than any organization. Year two, you should understand the way people interact and produce. But they are very calm because they've been through this before. And I think with a team that's a little unsettled right now, very steady leadership is critical, and they've done that in the camp. Plus, they're kind of fun to be around. I mean, they cut up a little bit, particularly Hudson. He's a hoot.
Yes.
He's a hoot. He's a hoot.
One important factor this year, it would seem for the team to simply compete consistently.
Right.
I know we're in the same boat that you are too. Kind of, we see in practice, we see that they're better, but you don't know really how that's going to translate once they play into games, or play games. But do you feel like that maybe this team, having gone what they did and then the improvements they made in the offseason, will compete more consistently week to week?
Well, we'll find out on
Yeah.
Saturday. I mean, I guess we all want to know the answer to that.
Right.
I've said for the last couple of years, people say, what do you really want to see out of this team? I said, less variability.
Yeah.
Where you have the high highs and the low lows. Now, in all honesty, this will be the first year in a long, long time, don't go back to Curtis Painter, that we kind of knew who the starting quarterback was going to be going into the season. And there's tremendous competition. I think that Danny Austin and David Blau give you three talented signal callers that you could draw upon. So, last year, the bad news is we played so many young guys. The good news is you look out in that field today and you see a lot of guys who've played major college football.
Right.
So, the nerves, the factor of, first game, that kind of stuff, you shouldn't see as much of that, or you should get over a little bit more quickly. I do think the quarterbacks probably all see the plays. I think they've spent a lot of time with John. So when I say see the plays, I think they're reading the defense a little quicker. They're not afraid to get that ball out of their hand quickly to the relief valve. And if people say, well, what kind of weapons do you have? We haven't had this kind of speed at Purdue in the time I've been here, across the board. I mean, you could put a pretty good 4x400 relay out there, or 4x100.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I want to see the offensive line. So does everybody. I want to see whether we can effectively stop the run, or the linebackers they're going to produce. I think those are two big question marks that I have, and I want to see. I think we're better, but I got to see it.
Right.
A couple questions coming in. One about the team looks. This is from Kurt from Michigan. The team looks stronger. He says very apparent. Do you see the same? You're out of practice just about as much as anybody. In terms of conditioning and all the other things, that your maturity, is that evident to you, palpable in terms of what you see when you're watching practice?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that, and he's spot on. Freshmen do become sophomores, and they're clearly the way, the crispness at which they run through practice and the quality of the drills is better. And there's competition in virtually every spot. Competition's a good thing in athletics. It keeps you honed in. So no doubt we're better synchronized, staff and players.
Since we started this APB for questions, we're getting something. A good question from Boiler Nut. How much input do you allow coaches to drive marketing and advertising ideas? I mean, Darrell's a guy that seems to be, likes to know what he looks like, likes to know what the product looks like from his perspective.
Well, we
How do you do
actually,
that?
when you put your marketing plan together for football, it's done the December prior to the season. So,
Yeah.
Chris Payadot does a good job. He'll have a draft plan ready, generally in December, early January, and he'll sit down with the coach. You want the coach to embrace the plan. But the coach also has to be smart enough not to call a play that he doesn't understand. I mean, that's what Chris, his background and experience is. So he's certainly engaged. And if there's a tie where Chris is ambivalent, you're going to give the tie to the coach because it's his or her program that you want to manage. But they got enough on their plate not to have to run the marketing plan, that's for sure.
Keep getting good questions regarding that. We haven't talked about the lights or the south end zone. We'll talk about south end zone here, but what do you
lights, yes.
What, somebody will give me the
Let's
check.
talk
I'll do the
about
light.
it
I'll do the lights tonight.
say that
They'll
every
give me
time
the-
you're here.
If they give me, they just write the check. I'll be there.
I can write the check. The problem
$3 million, $3 million, and we're off to the races.
There you go. No, but what about the south end zone in terms of, obviously, there will be an interest, that'll be part of the interesting part of tomorrow in terms of what that will look like and how that will work. You don't know for sure exactly how people are going to use it. But what role do you see that playing in what that final picture may look like? I mean, is it truly the market research as you've talked about before?
Right. Well, if anybody picked up the Wall Street Journal yesterday, looked at the attendance woes across the United States, particularly as it relates to students. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But to me, clearly, you've got a disconnect with the 25 to 35-year-old age group, and I don't know that anybody's found a solution. Now, if you're winning big, winning hides a lot of warts. But you clearly, in my opinion, and you've hit the tipping point with television. You could sit home, watch 4 or 5 ball games simultaneously. You go over to BW3s or whatever, and so you better be making it a good, compact environment. And I've said this a couple of times. I think people didn't understand or they didn't agree with me, and maybe both. I think the smaller your stadium, the better off you are today. And I think Major League Baseball has learned that. I think the size that Minnesota did is about right. I think you're going to find that your incremental revenue is driven through the media, not through your ticket sales. And so you gotta every segment of your marketplace has a different set of wants and needs. And I think the 25 to 35-year-old age group is much more of a mix and mingle than sit in the stands and get their binoculars on. So we'll learn this fall. We'll have students out there in brightly colored shirts. Tell us what you think. And we had 4,000 people respond to the market survey. And I'll tell you, coming off a 111 season, I want to thank them for their very thoughtful work. We didn't get a lot of cranky stuff. And I think we learned some things. Now we've got to fine tune it. I think we know we're not at A and we're not at Z. We're somewhere in between. And by being able to talk to our fans this year, I think we'll have a better idea. And we're going to bring 5 architects in to do a design competition this fall. And they'll be encouraged to attend a game or two during the season so they can talk to people. But I'd like to see some creativity. And the one thing that I have not seen anywhere else in the Big Ten is a stadium that to me is really uniquely fan-friendly. I look at I've been to the ballpark in San Francisco where the Giants play. It's a great venue. Yankee Stadium, the variety of options as we were out there. Camden Yards in Boston. And I think most of your college football stadiums are big boxes. And I think at the end of the day, we may have the opportunity, if we can find the right mix, to differentiate ourselves. And I think that works for us because our alumni don't all live here anymore. They live around the entire United States and the world. So they may come back for 2 or 3 games. And I'm not so sure that you won't see an increase in mini packages down the road as the younger people say, I can come for 2 or 3 games. And so if you could add something in the south end zone that is, I always call it young and young at heart because I don't want people who are over 25 to 35 say, well, you're counting me out. But I just want a different option than we have in the stadium. I want to try it, and this was an easier way to get some real live test data than just diving in and relying just on an electronic survey.
When people go to the game tomorrow, they're going to see a different south end zone. Obviously, you've had an interim plan here in place with the patio. 1,500, about 1,500 people can be kind of congregating in that area, right? Yeah,
we have 1,000 seats that are down there, and those seats were sold. And so we went to each of those people and said, look, we're going to put this patio in, and if that makes you uncomfortable, we'll move you into the stadium at no additional cost. So nobody, and there were 3 people that asked to be moved. And most of them are pretty psyched up, to be honest with you, that they get to participate. And then according to our safety and security people, you can put about 1,500 more. Now, I don't know how they're going to tell people when they're full. I don't know if we're going to have a flag that you, and they got to do something, because you don't want people to go trooping through the stadium at the places. And early on, you'll just have a lot of curiosity seekers.
Yeah.
But I was out there yesterday and today. It's a great spot. I mean, I would come in early to watch the pregame warm-up and to hang out with some people. It's just a really neat vantage point. And I applaud. I mean, a lot of people thought we were crazy. We could get this done in 90 days. The contractors, our Purdue staff, our own athletic staff, these people were unbelievable. And I think when people go out there, they'll you know, it's interim, but I don't think it looks cheesy. I think it has a good look and feel to it.
How early can fans, when will that open?
I was
before the
afraid
game?
you'd ask me that.
Oh.
And I'm not sure. I think that's something.
90
they put-
minutes.
90 minutes?
90 minutes before
Okay.
kickoff, yeah.
90 minutes before kickoff, which is about when the teams are coming out
Yeah, when the gates
to
open,
warm
so.
up.
I'm 90% sure I'm right on that. But another event tonight that we're, you know, obviously fans can come and see it tonight, because you've got your walkthrough. No bridge walk this year because there really isn't a bridge, which is a real problem. But at the Weast facility, there's going to be a chance for fans to be able to share in that experience and kind of greet the team.
Yeah, you know, for 1 year, we're going to have, until the John Myers pedestrian bridge is repaired,
Right.
we're going to have to walk away from that. And that was getting to be kind of a fun
Yeah.
way for little kids to engage. So we thought we'd do a send-off. The Weast Plaza is between the Holloway Gymnasium, the old IAF as we used to call it, and Mackey. We'll have some fun stuff to go on in there, and from 5:30 to 6, and opportunity for the team to mix and mingle before they head off for dinner. And then if people hang out for a while longer, volleyball plays number 14 San Diego tonight, and they get off. Our team got off to a very nice start this morning against a pretty good South Florida team. So people can have some fun this evening taking in football, and they can go over and watch a little volleyball. And if they're really moving fast, they can get over to the soccer complex and watch the women play over there.
8th ranked volleyball team, by the way,
Yeah,
too.
pretty good.
One thing I know somebody had asked about, which we want to make sure we hit, there will, even though the South End Zone project is not finished, they will see an upgrade in the speaker system
Yes.
right now. And is the cell phone, or was there like?
Yeah, let me deal with both of those,
Okay.
Stacy. We did, as we got into the sound system, which will be replaced when we do the South End Zone.
Right.
They got inside, we brought in some people. Fred Klipsch, who's a good Purdue grad and supporter down in Indianapolis, sent some of his engineers up to help. We found some blown speakers up there that my hunch people have been overcompensating to get the noise up to the north end of the stadium. I was in there for the Boiler Gold Rush. It's much better. Now, I want to hear it when there's, you know, thousands of people in the venue, but that may be, at least in the interim, it'll be some relief, but ultimately the sound system will be replaced with the South End Zone. The second question was?
Is this about cell phone reception
Yeah.
or something
You
like
work
that?
on
Yeah,
that.
and we have the university and athletics have done a deal with Crown Castle. Think of Crown Castle as the distributor, and they'll bring the antennas in so that any carrier, AT&T, Verizon, anybody, can effectively hook up through their pipes, if I can
Okay.
use an analogy. We had to slow that down a little bit this year for the stadium because of the grass. So we couldn't get some of the equipment out there and engineer a solution that was going to work. We really didn't want anybody on the grass in July. So it will be a little better this year, but not where I thought we would be a year from now. Mackey should be ready, so we should be full cell coverage by the time, because we basically said, let's shut down the stadiums, because since we can't get you on the field to engineer the solution, go spend your time getting Mackey ready. We'll come back and get Ross-Ade next year. It still doesn't answer the Wi-Fi question, which is an interesting one right now, because nobody really, in a retrofit, has a real good model. I almost hope we can let some people go ahead of us first, because I think there's going to be some mistakes made, and I'd just soon not make the
That's
mistake.
a mistake, yeah.
Right.
All right.
Last one to close
You
it
got
out.
one more question,
I
then
got one
we'll
more.
go to
So,
break.
so we do, I mean, I know you read our website. So we do predictions later on Fridays. You want to join into our group, or you just want to give a prediction for today?
Yeah, we're going to win every game Purdue starts this year. I'm not, and being an NCAA covered employee, last thing I need to do is have people think I'm betting on my team. But I'm banking on them, I'm not betting on them.
There you go. That's a fair distinction. Okay, we will let Stacy take a break. We're not going to give Morgan a break for another 20 minutes. Kyle Charters will join us for segment 2. Stay put. We'll run our commercials, and you can enjoy those, and we'll be back in a couple minutes on Golden Black Live.